The American Beauty Tim uses was made by Robust Tools. All our lathes have a 7-year warranty. Our tool wrists feature a hardened rod on top. Lots of sizes to fit your lathe. Robust, because the making matters.
Thompson Lathe Tools. Welcome to a new level of professional wood turning tools. Made by a wood turner, for wood turners. Well, you can see obviously I'm a wood turner who has no rhythm. But this is our drum set that we're making today. And the cool thing about our drum set is it's a passive speaker system for your cell phone. So it works like this. We'll hit play on that. It's really cool. What it does is the speakers on cell phones either point down or backwards, so you can't really hear them when they're playing. But with this, it funnels the sound out and it amplifies it. You can actually stand, I was in my house standing 20 feet away from this and could hear it. It was really, really cool. Well, what we're going to be using today to make this out of is, you be quiet. I'm doing mine now. Anyway, we're going to be working with some mahogany. The mahogany is going to be the drum kits on their own, the bodies and stuff. Inside here, I changed the wood because it came out a little bit dark. We're going to be using some really cool quilted maple, so that should be a little bit lighter on the inside. Now, for the tops of these drums, I'm going to use some holly. This is American holly, which is a really white wood. I don't have any pieces big enough to make the inside of the drum on the bass drum, but I would have done that if I had it, which is really cool. And then we'll go ahead and use the holly to also make the drumsticks. Now, there's a lot going on in this project, so we're going to get right to it. I got my biggest Forstner bit in here. This is a carbide bit that's almost 4 inches across. I think it's 100 millimeters. Obviously, I got it from China because these things are really expensive, and I just wanted to test it out, see if it worked. But anyway, what you're looking at is, this is about a 4-inch deep blank of mahogany. Now, you can get that. It's not too hard to find. And I've drawn a 5-inch circle on here and a 2.5-inch circle because that's going to represent the drums themselves. I also have a 4-inch circle right here, well, actually about a 4.5-inch circle on here on my quilted maple because this is going to be the insert inside the bass drum. So what I want to do right now is we're going to start drilling the hole into here. I'm going to have to take it really slow because this is a big cut, but I want to drill this down about 2 3/4 inches. And that will be the hole that we're going to receive the maple for to make the inside of our bass drum. Now we're getting closer. It really bogs down the drill bit, or the drill sometimes, but it is such a big cut. But we're getting closer. I want to go 2.5 inches deep. But as you can also see over here on the sides, I've put some bigger clamps on here because this starts vibrating and moving things. So make sure when you do this, you clamp it down really, really well because you don't want this running off the drill press. Okay, you can see we have our hole now, and it might be hard to see, but I've got a pencil mark going around here which leaves me about a 1/4 inch, 3/8 of an inch rim. So I'm going to cut this out, and there's the circle for the other drum kit. But the thing I want to do that's different than normal is I'm going to actually turn this on. I'm going to cut this out roughly. I want to leave flat sides on this piece because we've got to put it back on the bandsaw later, and I need a good surface to rest it on to make some cuts. So we'll just come through like this. Put that off over to there. We'll leave that flat side there. Come over here. Okay, that's as cut out as I want that one. Now we will go with this one and we'll go ahead and cut it out normally. And then we'll also cut out our maple, quilted maple too. And then we're gonna go over to the lathe and start doing some turning. One of the cool things about having a chuck, which costs a little bit, is to have a lot of jaws because it gives you a lot of flexibility when you do your turning. So I've put in a set of jaws here, and I'm going to use them to expand into this hole to hold this like so, because we have to turn a tenon on this end so we can later turn it around and hold it like that so we can work on the inside. So as you can see, I have the jaws there. This fits just about right. I'm going to open it and it will tighten on it. So we open, 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 and you can see it is bottoming out right there, so that's giving us a good registration. Let me take it back in a little bit and do it again. There we go. And then before you get it real tight, you just spin it, and see, that looks really good. There's no wobble to it at all, except for my great cutout job there. So I'm going to open it a little bit more. Now, to do this, I do want to be open and turn on this end, but I want to, for just right in the beginning, to bring up my tailstock and put a little pressure on there, so when I start this up, it's not going to go crazy on me. And the first thing I want to do is I'm going to take a pencil, and I need about a 3-inch recess in here, so I'm going to turn this down real low. And so I'll just draw that on there, and that's about right. So I'm going to stop this, get some tools, move around, and then we're going to start making that recess. Okay, I've got a spindle gouge out. We're going to turn this on really slowly. Bring up a little more speed. I don't want to go crazy on this because if something goes wrong, that thing's going to flop all over the place. Here we go. We're just going to kind of go in like so. And we're going to go in about 1/4 of an inch. And I'm just making sure I hold the tool steady in my hand and don't really turn it or move it too much. And I just let the cutting edge do all the work. There we go. Whoops, we got a little catch there. Let me stop that. See what I did wrong. I think I took too big of a cut. Also, this end is flopping back and forth, so it made it dig in a little bit. So all I want to do is make sure everything's where it should be. That looks good. That popped it out just a little bit. This is not a dovetail hold, so you want to make sure that you are gentle with your cuts, because if it was dovetailed, it would hold it like crazy. But it's just a straight hold, so it can slide off. So it's one thing keep in mind. We'll tighten that back up. Now we'll pick it back up again and finish our cut, and just take less of a cut this time. That's much more controlled. Now, when I've gotten about to this depth, this is where I want to get out my skew and start making the angle in here. So we're going to turn that off so I don't bust my knuckles. Bring this up a little bit higher. We're going to grab our skew, and we're going to come in like so. I'm going to bring my controller over here so it's close to me in case I need it. There we go. Okay, and just gently push in. Now you're putting less stress on the chuck, on the hold, because I'm pushing into the hold now. The one thing you don't want to do is cut this way coming out, because then you're pulling it out of the chuck. So I'm going to take this, scrape it across, make that as clean as possible, because this will be the finished bottom. So I will sand this before I turn it around. And I'm going to put my angle in right here. So I have my dovetail, or my recessed tenon there. Okay, there we go. So I'm gonna clean this up a little bit. I'll sand the bottom, and then we're gonna start working on the insert for this. Now our maple blank is like a bowl blank, so I have to use a bowl gouge to round it out. And I don't want to take a whole lot off because we're going to do some very careful trimming on this. And if you make it too small, you're starting all the way over again. That should be rounded out enough for me to start doing some measurements here. Okay, we'll turn it off for a second. I'm going to get my parting tool. Now this is the diameter of this hole. So we're going to take this and transfer it over to that blank, and then we're going to try to fit this like we would a lidded box. So we'll take this over here. Oh good, I did not go too thin. Turn this on. What we're going to do is one-handed. Bring up the parting tool like so. Just take a light cut. Since this is a burl, it's going to want to jump on me a little bit. And I'm going to see if I get these to ride in that little groove there. Worst thing you can do is not have it in the groove, because if it's not in the groove, then you're getting the wrong measurement. And see, it's just sliding over right now. So that's good. I'm going to stop that. And we're actually going to bring this up. And we're going to do this. I'll take it off. It's going to be easier. We'll see if this fits. So it is just a little bit proud. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep working on this till it fits. Once it fits, I'm going to transfer that mark on diameter all the way across and then even it out to where it fits in nice and slick. And then we'll glue it in. I'm using my tool rest as a depth gauge. So I was a little high on that end. Let's test this one more time and see how it works. Okay. You want to be careful when you're fitting this, because if you go ahead and jam that in all the way, it's going to get stuck on you. But you can see it's going pretty good. If it gets airtight, it's really tough to get out. So what I'll do is I'll reverse this and see how it's going in. Okay, see, I'm still a little high on right there. So I'm going to just turn that away, and then we're going to be ready to glue this up. Hey kids, it's time for fun with glue. Okay, we're going to have a little fun with this now. And I'm going to glue around these edges here. I don't think I really need anything in the bottom. As long as I get glued on the side, I'm good, because I'll show you why in a minute why you don't glue on the bottom. But anyway, so let's just get my hands out of the way. We're just going to slather in some good old thick CA, right? Okay. Now, to make sure that this will glue up well, because we're going to be turning with it, we want everything to hold together well, we're going to take Mr. Accelerator here, and we're going to spray the sides of this really well. Now this limits the amount of time you have to work with this, so you got to move fast. So this is going to go in there like so, and we're going to make sure it goes in. Now when I was drilling this out, I had a little wobble off the top, so don't worry about that gap. I'm going to turn that away, and then it'll be a tighter fit. But anyway, we'll just leave that in there, put some pressure on it for a while, and once it dries, we're going to go to the bandsaw. I've taken off the toms so it's a little bit easier for you to see here. But if you can see a little shininess back in there, I don't know if you can see it at all. That back in there is glue that when I put this disc in, it didn't make a perfect mate, so it wound up exposing the glue. That's why you don't put glue on the bottom, because the way you're going to do this, you're probably going to be right at that seam, and you don't want glue to show. So anyway, I've set up my bandsaw here, and I've made some marks. I don't want to cut more than halfway through, because there's a little dimple down in there too, so I want to cut about to there. We'll turn this on, and I made marks about the width of my cell phone. So we're going to come in, and we'll make our first cut up to this line, like so. And this is why I left the flat bottom. So now I have good registration. I'm not worried about this twisting or rolling. So we're going to loosen this, move this up to our second mark right there, lock it in, and make our next cut. Now we've made that cut, all we have to do is get this out of the way, and we're just going to start nibbling away at the wood by taking thin little kerf cuts, like so. So once I get this done, then we're going to knock them out, and I'll show you how we clean up the surface. I'm just taking a rasp here, and I'm cleaning up where I nibbled out with the bandsaw. One thing while you're doing this, I made a mistake on this one. I'll tell you right up front. As I had it on the bandsaw and I'm sliding through and I'm nibbling away really good, and I thought, well, the other side needs it too, so I turned it over and started nibbling away. It's got a different flat spot, so I started rounding the edge off. So you can see instead of being nice and sharp, it's rounded. We'll call that a design modification, and it looks good. We wanted that. Yeah, anyway. So I'm going to do this for a few minutes, and then we're going to go back to the lathe. So I've mounted this with the recess, and I'm spinning it. And one thing I did to test was I ran this for a second, took a pencil, and made sure that the line was equidistant all the way around, so it's going to guarantee that I have a rim that is even all the way around. Sometimes you can get this misregistered when you make your recess on the other end. The way to fix that is you simply put this between centers, go ahead and turn the outside to where the rim is right, then you put it back on to hollow out the inside. But we're good right now, so I'm going to turn this on slowly because this one's a little weird looking. A lot of air going by. And I'm going to grab my bowl gouge because this is also like a bowl blank. And we're just going to slowly chop it away. Nibble it away. Chopping to be a bad thing. There's a lot of air. And it's actually kind of complicated by the fact that I'm hitting air right here because it's not round. And then wham, I have a hole there for half of it, so I feel a different pressure when I go by it. So you just have to be very careful and very slow as you work this down. So I've got, again, the handle in my side. I'm just leaning my weight, moving it over to make the cut. I don't want to rush this at all, and I just want to stay as still as possible through the cut. And I've got a little bit of a bump here because I can't see my silhouette because the little GoPro camera is in the way. So I'll nibble that down a bit. There we go. Okay, so this will take a minute, but once I have it rounded out, then we're going to start shaping the bass drum. Okay, you can see we have it rounded out, and I want to show you one thing over here. Remember I said I had that gap from it wallowing out when I drilled it? Well, I've taken it down quite a bit. We still have a lot of room left, but it now has a nice seam on there, so it's not as noticeable that we have a gap. So that fit really well. And the real area we're really concerned about the match being good is right here. On the inside, we're not going to see that, so we're doing good there. So I want to put a rim on either end here, just for aesthetic reasons. So we're going to use our parting tool and just make a small cut. You need to come up a little higher than that. There we go. So we'll start out wider than we want to establish it. So this is going to go in about 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little more than that. There we go, that looks good. And so what I'll probably do is just work my way all the way across, just making this cut. And then I'll just clean it up. We'll do a little bit of sanding. Well, we can probably hold off on the sanding until we do the hollowing. Yeah, I like that idea. But just remember, as you're parting this, let me get over to here to show you real quick. When you get to the part where you have the slot, it's a whole different pressure feel. It is a big lack of pressure, if that makes sense, because you're back to cutting air again. So you just want to be very careful with it. And if you're nervous about it, using the parting tool here, you can come in, see, that's just like butter all of a sudden. You can come in with a spindle gouge or even a bowl gouge to come across this gap and give yourself a little more support. I'm kind of having to stand weird to see around the camera again. I got to remember to put that someplace where it's not in the way. But anyway, I'm going to finish this up and then we'll start hollowing out the cone. That's going to be our speaker. Oh, that's ugly. I'm going to have to really work on that. Okay, now we're ready to hollow out. It's just going to be like any bowl that you would hollow out. We want to make sure we leave some shape in there to make it look like a cone, though. That's the cool part. I'm going to pick the speed up. There we go. So we're just going to start dishing it out like so. And work our way down. This doesn't take a whole long time to do. Get rid of that middle while we're going. Just swinging the tool. What I do want to do is, when we get over to this edge, I want to make a transition though. So as we come out this way, slow down my cuts, takes middler one. So we're gonna come into here, and I'm looking at my other one to make sure what I did. Okay, came in here, gonna push in flat, because I want the mahogany to stand on its own. So I'm just getting rid of the maple and I'm exposing the mahogany. There we go. So that looks pretty good, I think. There we are. So we have this nice little shelf, nice little delineation. So I'm just gonna keep going in now, and we're gonna haul the cone out, and then we're gonna shape it a little bit on the inside with a scraper. We've gotten deeper now, and I've moved the tool rest in to give me a little more of an angle. We're about ready to break through, so I wanted to show you that, because you have to take this nice and gently when you do this. But anyway, we're still using the bowl gouge, and we're just making a nice graceful curve as we come in here. And then we're swinging it all the way around like this, and we're really thin, you can hear it. But we're not going to break through in the center so much as we're going to break through in one half of this. And I want to sneak up on it because you don't want to find yourself falling through that hole. One more and we're there, I think. There, I felt something. Okay, let me do one more. I lied. One more. There we go. But you have to break through because that's how you get the sound out. Keep coming here. And it might be hard to see. Let me stop it here for a second. There, you see we got the little breakthrough right there. So we're just going to open that up a little bit more. And once we do that, then we're going to sand everything. Oh yeah, now we're there. Now there's one last bit of sanding I need to do on this, and that is to put an angled bottom on here. You can see this sits straight, that has an angle. So I just need to sand that right there. And we're going to be using our disc up here to do it. Just turn it on and come in with an angle here, like so. Okay, and then press it in, and we're just going to play with it a while. Once I get that done, we're moving on. There we go. Okay, what I've been doing is I've been turning and prepping the toms for the drums. And so it basically is the exact same shape we did on the big bass drum, just smaller. But instead of making a plug that goes all the way through, we're just going to make a little disc that sits inside. So the only really critical thing about this is you want to make sure that this lip right here is perfectly straight in, so the disc, when it plops in, gives you a nice clean edge. So I'm using my modified tendon maker tool just to make sure I can get a good straight edge and go in there. So I just make sure I'm parallel. I'm looking down at the ways of the lathe, and I'm lining up with them to go in with this straight cut. And that's nice and straight. You want to go in about 1/4 inch deep because you want to make your plug, your little tom, about 1/8 of an inch. And the cool thing is this time, instead of using maple, I'm going to be using holly, which is really white, which will make it look more like a drum head. So I'll just clean this up a little bit, and we'll be ready to turn these to go inside the tom itself. Well, I'm checking the fit of my holly right now for the head of the drum, and that's pretty good. Oh crap, that's a good fit. A real good fit. You don't want it to be so tight that you can't get it back off. Jeez Louise. But anyway, once you get this the right diameter and everything's working for you, you just part it off and make sure it's only half that thickness so it sets down inside for the head of the drum. I've already sanded that, so I'm gonna part that off once I catch my breath. Now we're gonna be turning 2 tiny drumsticks. Got one made already, so we're gonna try to duplicate that down there. Takes a little finesse, a little patience, and I can't see what I'm doing. So I'll just bend over like this. Stupid camera. It's like any spindle turning, you want to work from the end back so you have all the support you need. Just take tiny little bitty cuts. Little bitty cuts. That's looking pretty good. A little bit more and we'll be ready to put this thing together. Well, now we're all assembled. We have a finish on there. I think it looks pretty cool. One question you might have though is how did he levitate those drums in there to keep them up? I just used some really cool wire. It's Blue Hawk 10-pound, 4.5 kilogram wire I got at Hobby Lobby, or no, Home Depot. And I simply cut it and built these little retainer rings. And then all you do is over on this, you drill a small hole at an angle in here, and then your wire just goes down in there like so. And Brian is the expert on music, so we played with the elevation on these. So this one's a little bit low, but when you look at the one we just did, now the toms are up, and in the front, it looks a little more like a drum kit. And you can see the drumsticks are there and everything. So I think that really looks good. I love the way the holly pops, and the maple burl, or the quilted maple inside looks pretty good too, because it's a little bit brighter color than the one I did before. So anyway, that is how you make a drum kit cell phone passive speaker. And by passive, what I mean is there's no batteries or power in it. So I guess we could just call it a drum kit cell phone speaker just to keep it short. But anyway, that's how you make one. I hope you enjoyed the show. And so until the next time, keep turning.
The American Beauty Tim uses was made by Robust Tools. All our lathes have a 7-year warranty. Our tool wrists feature a hardened rod on top. Lots of sizes to fit your lathe. Robust, because the making matters.
Thompson Lathe Tools. Welcome to a new level of professional wood turning tools. Made by a wood turner for wood turners.